In the hazy depths of his fever dreams, Leon's perception of reality was distorted, a warped reflection in a funhouse mirror. In the theater of his delirium, memories played out in disjointed sequences, their hues distorted, their voices warped, their details twisted. Yet, amid the cacophony of the surreal, one scene emerged, pristine and undistorted, the memory of Melvin's demise. In his delusion, the apartment morphed into a sullen bar on the wrong side of the town. The walls were dank, the air thick with the stench of cheap whiskey, stale beer, and lost dreams. He was young again, his strength not yet sapped by time and sickness. Across the room, bathed in the sickly glow of a neon sign, sat Melvin, his jovial laugh drowned in the murmur of the crowd, his charismatic smile obscured by the darkness. Then, the deafening shot rang out. The crowd froze, and Melvin was there no more. His lifeblood seeping into the unkind earth. A flash of fear, a jolt of adrenaline, and Leon was sprinting away. Running from the scene, running from the guilt that was not his to bear. Back in the prison of his illness, he found himself talking, his raspy voice echoing in the silence of the apartment. He wasn't alone. His fevered mind had conjured up a companion, Lamont. An imaginary Lamont, but a comfort nonetheless. "Lamont, I didn't do it, son," Leon croaked, his hand outstretched, yearning for a comfort he knew wasn't there. "I loved Melvin, your father. He was my brother, not by blood, but by bond. I would never." His voice broke, choked with emotion, with the guilt that had shadowed him for years. He gasped, took a ragged breath, and continued, "I didn't pull that trigger, Lamont. It wasn't me." Tears welled in his eyes, cutting trails through the grime on his cheeks, their salty sting a testament to his agony. His confession hung in the air, heavy and unburdened, a ghost freed from its shackles. In the throes of his delirium, Leon found a strange sense of solace. He had shared his guilt, revealed the truth he'd hidden so well, and it was a balm to his suffering, a small respite in his agonizing ordeal. Though his body was on the precipice of surrender, his heart was a little lighter, his soul a little less burdened, his mind a little more at peace. And so, lost in the maze of his fever dreams, Leon conversed with his imaginary nephew, confessing his innocence, pleading for understanding, unburdening his guilt, and bracing himself for the bitter end that lurked ominously around the corner. In the midst of the delirium, the feverish dreams shifted, sinking deeper into the shadowy labyrinth of Leon's past. From the murky depths emerged the dark silhouette of a woman, Lilith, the vengeful siren of his bygone years. Leon's heart clenched. An icy chill slithered down his spine, for the memory of her curse was more potent than the gnawing agony of his deteriorating health. The scenery around him shifted like a watercolor painting caught in the rain. Gone was the spectral replica of his apartment. Instead, he stood before a rickety old cabin shrouded in a blanket of moonlight. The air hung heavy with the musky scent of damp earth and the suffocating tension of the past. There she was, draped in a crimson shawl, her coal-black eyes reflecting the ethereal glow of the moon. He watched, heart pounding, as she reached into her pouch, her fingers dancing over the strange assortment of trinkets. Her lips moved, uttering words in a tongue long forgotten, her voice a chilling melody that sent shivers down his spine. Lilith, the enchantress, was casting her curse. "I bind you, Leon. Bind you to a life of suffering and solitude. You shall know the pain of loss, the sting of betrayal, the agony of loneliness. Your health shall fail, your strength shall wane, and you shall be left yearning for an end that is not quick to come." She had prophesied, her voice resounding through the silence of the night. In his fevered state, Leon could feel the curse seep into his veins, coiling around his heart, a venomous snake ready to strike. He could feel his strength ebbing away, his life force slowly being drained, replaced by a relentless pain, a ceaseless suffering. The harsh reality of Lilith's curse was far more palpable now, with the gripping fear of his impending fate. It had woven itself into the very fabric of his life, snaking through his years, filling his days with despair and his nights with dread. It had robbed him of his health, turned him into a prisoner in his own body. But as he sank further into the spectral abyss, as he became further lost in the depths of his fever dreams, Leon held on to a flicker of hope. He'd come this far, battled countless storms, braved numerous trials. He was not going to surrender, not yet. Haunted by the echoes of Lilith's curse, Leon's struggle against his debilitating health continued, his heart beating a stubborn rhythm against the oppression of his sickness, his spirit refusing to bow to the inevitable end that lurked in the shadows. As Leon drifted in and out of his fevered consciousness, an unexpected tranquility began to descend over him. His frail body, still trapped in the grip of a merciless illness, lay on the cold, unforgiving floor of the apartment. But something within him had shifted. The ceaseless war against his own mortality seemed to dwindle, replaced by an unforeseen acceptance of the path that lay before him. In the solitude of his dim apartment, Leon's mind journeyed through a kaleidoscope of memories. They danced before his eyes, vivid and bittersweet, each a testament to the life he had lived and loved. And as he saw the echoes of his past, acceptance of his present became less of a battle and more of a gentle embrace. Tears welled in his sunken eyes as he thought of Lamont. Oh, Lamont, his bright young nephew who had given up his dreams, his youth, to care for a withering old man. Their last encounter, their heated argument, had left a bitter aftertaste. But even that was fading now. Leon knew Lamont had his reasons, and he bore him no ill will. He needed to let Lamont know, needed to convey his understanding, his forgiveness, but the words would not come. Then, in that twilight between wakefulness and dreams, an idea sparked. With all the strength that remained within him, Leon imagined Lamont. He pictured his handsome face, his radiant smile, the spark in his eyes that mirrored his father's spirit. He reached out to this image with a fatherly love, a whisper of gratitude for everything he had done, and a silent apology for all the trials he had inadvertently brought upon him. In his heart, Leon held Lamont close. He willed him to feel his forgiveness, his acceptance, his undying love. He willed him to understand that their last bitter words were the product of a fleeting moment, not a testament to their bond. As Leon succumbed to the grip of the delirium once again, he held onto the image of Lamont, the sound of his laughter, the light in his eyes. He held on to the hope that he had done enough, loved enough, apologized enough, and in his heart, he knew he had. He had forgiven Lamont. The chapter closed with Leon's frail form still sprawled on the floor, but a serene calm had washed over him. He was ready to face whatever lay beyond the veil of his existence. He had accepted his fate, and he had forgiven his only kin. And as the last vestiges of his consciousness began to fade, he was content, his heart filled with an unconditional love for the nephew who was more of a son than he had ever had.